Welcome to North Shore Unitarian Church. I am Reverend Lucas Hergert, and I am glad to be back in the pulpit this month after being away in July. It is good to be with you. Now, our church community welcomes you whether you are a new or a long-time member. If you would like to learn more about our community and its online offerings, please go to nsuc.org and sign up for our newsletter there. There has never been a better time to get involved or to become a member of the North Shore Unitarian Church. Now, I am really excited today to get to welcome the Reverend Dr. Roger Jones to our pulpit. Roger is a good friend of mine from my days in California, and we have been looking forward to doing a pulpit exchange for some time. Luckily, during this time of online worship, it has become a possibility for us. Now, I'm going to turn things over to Roger in just a minute so that he can tell you a little bit about himself and also welcome you to the service today. It is a pleasure to be with you this morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, everybody. It's good to be with you today. My name is Roger Jones, and I serve as one of the ministers at the Unitarian Universalist Society of Sacramento here in Northern California. I'm with you today on a pulpit exchange with Reverend Lucas. Thanks to the internet, it's a very low carbon footprint pulpit exchange. Lucas and I have known each other for about 10 years when he came to California for his first ministry in Livermore. I'm very glad that he's serving your community, and I know he is too. My memories of the North Shore Unitarian Church go back to the late 1980s when I was a young adult member of the Second Unitarian Church in Chicago. I remember driving up to Deerfield for a Saturday conference called Philosophest, which you hosted in those days, and found it very exciting and also very helpful to me in discerning my call to the UU ministry. So thank you for being there then. Thank you for being there now, and thank you for all that you do to sustain your mission in these times. Our call to worship comes from the Reverend Lisa Friedman, who serves one of our congregations in Minnesota. We touch the floor to remember that wherever we bring our best selves is holy ground. We reach for the sky to remember that we are part of a mystery much greater than ourselves. We reach out our hands to remember that we need one another and that we are part of one human family. We lift our voices to remember that each one of us has a part to play in serving the world and making the world a better place. We are blessed to be here together in worship. Thank you.
We light our flame today with some familiar words. This flame affirms the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. And we also light this candle for Black lives as we continue our journey to become a community that is committed to justice, to love, and to compassion in our world. May it be so. North Shore Unitarian Church is a community that is grounded in love, guided by reason, committed to spiritual growth, and striving for justice. We accomplish this mission through the generous donation of our members and friends. And so we invite you to text your donation now. Please note that in order to give, you must include NSUC, the designated fund, and also the amount. Thank you so much for your generosity.
Now I invite you to join me in the spirit of intention and openness and prayer as I offer words of a loving kindness meditation, or a version of it, sometimes called metta. I invite you first to take a deep breath and bring yourself into awareness of your body and your being present in this moment. This loving kindness meditation begins with care for ourselves and extends it to those closest to us and then out to others in ever-widening circles of care and concern. May I be well. May I be safe. May I know peace. May I have courage. May you, my loved ones, my neighbors, my fellow congregation members, my family, may you be well. May you be safe. May you know peace. May you have courage. For all who are sick, all who are worried, anxious, lonely, or afraid, for all who are grieving, may they be well. May they be safe. May they know peace. May they have courage. For those longing for solidarity and working for justice in a culture of racial domination and violence, may they be well. May they be safe. May they know peace. May they have courage. For all the food workers, transportation workers, healthcare professionals, and care providers, and all others who keep us connected and keep our communities going, may they be well. May they be safe. May they know peace. May they have courage. For those in our lives who are not easy to know or easy to love, for those who try our patience, may they be well, may they be safe, may they know peace, may they have courage. For those who are out of work or without a home or uncertain about where their next meal will come from or when it will come, may they be well, may they be safe, may they know peace, may they have courage. For those around the world, for everyone who is a member of the human family as full of dignity and worth as anybody else, may they be well, may they be safe, may they know peace, may they have courage. And may all of us be held in loving kindness, and may it center our spirits and ground our living, one day at a time, one moment at a time, one breath at a time. So may it be. Blessed be, and amen.
This is the time in our service where we weave a tapestry of love and support that sustains this beloved community. If you have a joy or a sorrow that you would like to share, I invite you to open the chat feature in YouTube and type it in. You can also send it into the newsletter if you would like only the NSUC community to see your joy or sorrow. And always, if you feel comfortable, we invite you to join us in singing.
Still and small, deep inside all, I hear you call, singing. In dark and rain, sorrow and pain, still will remain, singing. Calming my fears, quenching my tears, through all the years, singing. Voice still and small, deep inside all, I hear you call, singing. In dark and rain, sorrow and pain, still will remain, singing. Calming my fears, quenching my tears, through all the years, singing.
On a warm Saturday afternoon this past May, I was sitting on the deck behind my house reading a book, and suddenly the stillness and quiet were broken by a rumbling, chopping noise, a helicopter overhead. I looked up and saw that it was very close, and I saw red and black markings on it, and I knew that it was an ambulance, a helicopter ambulance. I live close to a regional university medical center, which has a level 1 trauma center in it. So helicopters in my neighborhood are not that unusual. Sometimes, depending on my mood or whether I'm asleep, I tune it out, I ignore it. Sometimes I actually enjoy that rumbling noise. This time, I started to ask myself questions. I started wondering, I wonder who's being transported. Were they hurt in an accident? Were they shot? Is it somebody's parent or their spouse? Or is it a child? I thought to myself, whoever it is, I wish you well. I wish you comfort and ease and healing. To your loved ones, I wish peace and courage. Then I thought about the pilot and the medical personnel up there, and I thought about how they were no doubt caring for a stranger, maybe somebody of a different country of origin or religion or color than they were, but I trusted that they were providing the same level of care for that human being as they would for any other patient. So looking up, I prayed, thank you for your service. May you be safe. Then I thought about the hospital workers who were preparing to receive this patient. Thank you for your talent and your care. May you be well. I was surprised to have strong feelings when I did this. I was surprised that I actually stopped to reflect on the human beings and human lives connected to that helicopter. However, the book that I was reading had primed me to imagine another's experience. It had given me an empathy nudge. From the book, I learned a useful definition of empathy. It is the ability to consider, imagine, and appreciate the experience of others. Sometimes empathy is emotional, to feel some of the pain of another's loss or injury. Sometimes it comes from thinking about it, wondering, learning what it would be like to be homeless, for example, or to be in prison, or to be a person of a different religion, or age, or stage in life. Sometimes it comes from listening to what somebody else has to say. We practice empathy when we recognize our common humanity and when we realize that we don't all experience the world in the same way. Jamil Zaki is a professor of psychology at Stanford University and the author of the book, The War for Kindness, Building Empathy in a Fractured World. He says that empathy is a natural instinct and it's a skill to be learned. Zaki writes, at the dawn of our species, we humans huddled together in groups of a few families, and we had neither sharp teeth nor wings nor great strength to protect ourselves. So we learned how to connect, understand one another, cooperate, and provide help. We could not have lasted this long if we had not learned to get along. From day one as a species, we humans cared for those in our closest circles, our close family members, and those who lived close to us. Our circle of care widened to include those who spoke our language and looked like us. However, this instinct also made us cautious toward those outside our group, cautious and hostile and aggressive. The suspicion of outsiders for the sake of group safety was an evolutionary adaptation, a trait that helped us. It worked millions of years ago when you didn't venture far from home and you were unlikely to encounter other groups. But humans have learned to cross rivers and oceans and continents. We trade goods and services across borders. On the internet, we inhabit the world with people from all over the world. We live in a world that's interconnected, and unfortunately, it's also a world that is heavily armed. This means, in these times, that hostility toward others is a danger to us all. Zaki calls his book The War for Kindness. Over the past several decades, he says, empathy and kindness have been worn down and attacked. People are divided, unkind, reactive, hostile, and hateful in this country and around the world. In personal encounters and on social media, radio, and cable TV. Empathy is under siege. Zaki wants us to join his nonviolent campaign for empathy. He says, let's bring empathy back into our world. The world needs it. Yet it's also good for us. It's good for each one of us. Zaki cites research to show that people with empathy are more likely to succeed in their work, in their loving relationships, in their family lives, and in other aspects of life. Empathy can make us feel more connected with other people, which is good. Empathy is good for our health. Empathy is like a muscle we can exercise or choose not to. Zaki recalls how he learned the tool of empathy for his own benefit and for his own sense of belonging and connection. He writes, I was 8 years old when my parents began divorcing, but 12 by the time they finished. Stubbornly, his parents didn't try to understand each other's perspectives. They defended their own turf, and their son Jamil did not want to be caught between them. He didn't want to have to take sides, but he did want to stay connected to each one of them. So he made efforts to understand where each parent was coming from, to see things from their individual perspectives. Now, I don't think it's fair for a kid to be in a situation like that. But Zaki says that because of his parents' very long divorce, he had his own empathy gymnasium. He trained in the skills of learning and appreciating others' experience. And perhaps you can think of some times in your life, some tough times, or times in lives of people that you know and care about, which were an empathy gymnasium for you or for another person. And that's the main point of Zaki's research, is that empathy is a skill that we can learn and we can teach. He reports that we have decades of evidence demonstrating that empathy can be shaped and is shaped by our experience. For example, 1-year-old children whose parents express empathy at high levels are children who will show greater concern for strangers when they are 2 years old. And they are more able to tune into other people's emotions when they are 4 years old. And they act more generously as 6-year-olds than other kids of their age. That is, kids who at 1 year of age have parents who express high levels of empathy have these skills in the next few years. But even as adults, we can learn more empathy. We can keep learning it. We can improve it by practice, but it is work. Zaki notes, for example, that in meditation and ritual, Buddhist monks practice compassion for days on end. Compassion is not easy. They practice it to gain it and to maintain it. We can find many opportunities to do that, many choices for our own practice, such as learning to listen to a difficult classmate, relative, co-worker, neighbor, or fellow congregation member. That will stretch the empathy muscles. So will the exercise of trying to appreciate what another person might find meaningful in their hobby, their work, their religious identity, their hometown. Zaki says that we need to get outside of our familiar circles of people and be curious and open. Of course, getting to know those outside our comfort zones may not be easy, but it is great for building empathy. The scholar Carolyn Druick says that we can change our own level of empathy if we set our minds to it. She says that her work shows that simply believing it's possible to change can make it so. Believing that we can show more empathy, we can be able to do that. So, with these intentions, we can find ways to learn how other people experience life. You know, for centuries, the art of literary fiction has taught us empathy. The author's imagination meets ours, as a good story invites us to be curious about the life and experience of other people. Zaki says that Every novel or story helps people understand each other one reader at a time. On the other hand, reading fiction that resonates with our own situation in the world can affirm our experience. It can make us feel known, make us feel empathized with, and receiving empathy will open us to extend more of it. I like reading the advice columns in newspapers and online, even though the questions that other people submit rarely have to do with my life at all. I find wisdom in the answers. And these days, some TV series and movies capture the worlds of people I normally would have no interest in getting to know. But thanks to the art of the storytellers, I am drawn in, and my understanding is expanded. Stories can give us a nudge toward empathy. A few months ago, I gave a sermon about empathy for my own congregation, and a week or so later, I was in an online conversation with a few members, and we talked about that topic. Like thoughtful UUs, they wrestled with how far this empathy business should go. For example, one said, should I have empathy for the current president when his cruel actions and violent rhetoric and self-centered immaturity are just outraging me so much? Why does the president deserve empathy if he doesn't show any? That's what he said, but then after that, he said that he could imagine that right now Donald Trump is probably afraid and angry. He could imagine his experience, even though he doesn't want him to be the president. To be sure, understanding another person's experience doesn't mean we have to put up with their behavior. Empathy doesn't mean people should not be held accountable for their actions. Empathy should not let someone off the hook. In that Zoom conversation, I asked the members to reflect on how they had seen empathy in action. Had they shown empathy? Have they been on the receiving end of it? Have you? So in our conversation, one person told us that a family member had reached out after many years of separation. For so long, nobody in the family had communicated with this person. Even during the pandemic, after that started, nobody had made an outreach to this person. Nobody from the rest of the family, and all the rest of them lived in another state. However, after one sibling had a big life transition, that sibling reached out. And in conversation, the two of them started comparing stories of their lives and stories of their experience of their family. I understand what you've been going through, one of them said to the other. They reconnected, and they began a reconciliation, all because of openness and empathy. Just hearing these observations for us was an empathy nudge. Another person spoke of going to the grocery store where physical distance and wearing masks is now standard practice. We do this to keep one another safe, to keep our community safe. This is empathy in action. Even so, these are frustrating times, and many of us are anxious and frustrated. So when this member was in the store, she observed how people treated one another, especially how customers would treat clerks who worked in the store. She noticed that sometimes they didn't make eye contact with the staff members, or sometimes they took out their impatience and frustration on them with harsh words. But more often, she said, the interactions she observed were gentle ones, slow and steady and patient. Kind words were said, things like, thank you for being here. Just hearing these observations was, for the rest of us, an empathy nudge. In our discussion about how we show empathy, another member said, I have trouble telling somebody I know what you're going through because I can't truly say that. I agree. It's only on Star Trek, on television where there are two characters who have automatic or natural empathy, and they are not 100% human beings. To practice empathy means that we try to be open and try to be present. Doing so calls us to humility. Humility before the unique experience of other people. Empathy is the ability to consider, imagine, and appreciate the experience of others. So you are invited for the rest of the day and in the days to come to join me in considering empathy. Notice when you receive it from others. Notice when you get an empathy nudge. Notice when you show it and it helps you feel more connected. Notice empathy and give thanks. Every day we can choose opportunities to practice empathy and show kindness. It's not always easy, of course, but it might be good for us, and it's good for our world. Let us all be on the lookout for empathy and celebrate it where we find it. Let us remember it, defend it, and extend it, and bring more of it into the world. So may it be. Blessed be. And amen. Now I invite you to reach out your hand toward the screen that you're watching and put your other hand on your heart to imagine that you are connected, to embody that you are connected to everyone else participating. May you depart in peace and return in joy. For all who see God, may God go with you. For all who embrace life, may life return your affection. And for all who seek a right path, may a way be found and the courage to take it, moment by moment and breath by breath. Blessed be. Amen.